The first project is a bordered round. I have some of these beautiful little butterfly magnets. They are black and gray. I've got some moss here. This is a moss mat. Some artificial tree branches, and they are wired. And then some mushrooms. I'm going to decide later which ones to use. So here's my thrifted piece that I have had for quite some time now, and I finally decided what to do with it. I love a thrift find like this. It's a great quality. So it's been sitting up a while. It's kind of dusty. I'm going to just take a little bit of cleaner and spray inside there and wipe it all down until the fingerprints and any dust is gone. Nice and clean. We always want to start off with a clean piece, especially when it's thrifted. You don't know what its previous life was, right? Then I'm going to take my artificial branches. I chose the artificial branches because I have them and I love the look of them, but also I can bend those. So I have a little more leniency with my design. But of course you can get branches from outside if you want to, you know. So I like the way this looks. And I kind of envision this at an angle. So I'm just going to make this look like maybe this is one tree. One tree in the woods. Maybe on a hill. I'm going to use my glue and just sort of, you know, put a good bit there. I want to make sure that it doesn't move around. It's going to take a minute or two for that to set up and become hardened. And then under the bigger part of the branches, I'll add some glue as well for stability. Now I'm going to add this moss mat. It's very stretchy, the material that's underneath. This came from TEMU, but you can use any type of moss you have, and you can just, you know, put it in by hand if you get a pack from Dollar Tree and just, you know, but this just makes it a little bit quicker, and it's going to have a little bit different of a look. And now it looks like I wanted it to. It looks like it's on a hill, right? Kind of sideways, hanging over a hill or a little cliff. I love that. Just add glue where needed to push everything down and into place. And I want to make sure there's no gap between the moss and the side of this piece. I call this a wood, like a round, because it is round and it does have a border on it. But I'm not exactly sure what you would call this piece. What would you call this? Like I don't know. I really don't know. So I'm going to grab some of those mushrooms and I'm going to add them into the piece now, because I want this to be sort of a forest core or a forest kind of moody look in this particular project. These mushrooms are foam, so they can be very easily cut. I'm going to cut at a slant so they almost look like they are growing out of the side. Gives a little more dimension. And then I'll cut the other one too. You can see, just cut it a slant. That's easy. You can get mushrooms from the Dollar Tree, definitely. And you can use those. If they're too big, just cut them in half. Just use your foam knife and just cut them right in half. So I'm going to lay a couple of mushrooms down, and then I'll also put a little bit on the cap of the mushroom to stick it down to the background. I love the moss mats. I did a TEMU haul probably last fall, maybe summer, where I bought a bunch of the moss mats, and they are beautiful. Okay, so these have a little magnet on the body right underneath. You've seen me use these butterflies in different projects. I think it was the wallpaper decor that I recently did. I used these butterflies as a tiny magnet in there, but it's pretty strong. But I decided to use these as, you know, just like a sticker, like you would use a sticker or any applique. Just because it has a magnet doesn't mean it has to be used that way. We got to think outside the box when we have our pieces. So I'm going to add some hot glue after I kind of decide roughly where I want them to be, and I'll just start adding those down to the branches. This would also be really nice if you had moths. I think this would be really nice because it almost looks like it's nighttime with a black background. So moths would definitely be nice here. But you know, this is more of a fantasy type piece, so I'm okay with it being black butterflies, right? Totally all right with that. I hope y'all are enjoying the butterfly projects. I've had a lot of requests for them, and that's why you've seen me doing a lot of them lately. Now, because these are flexible, you can really move these into different positions. You could have the wings up, you could have them spread out flat, and you can have them just slightly bent. So I'm showing you a variety of that all over this piece. They're all made the same. I'll add one to the bottom with its wings open, and at the top we'll add one like it is just resting there. Now, of course, you can stop at this point if you would like, but I'm going to add a little bit more because I always do, right? Always do. If you really like this decor and you like what you're seeing right now, I would love it if you would subscribe. My goal that I'm currently working on is 100,000 subscribers so I can get my silver play button by Halloween. Yeah, I'm going to have a little party. I'm going to do some giveaways and stuff like that when I reach my goal. So I would love for y'all to be part of that number if you enjoy these types of DIYs, because I make those. And I try to make it as budget friendly and unique as possible. So I've got some little scraps of fern here, and I'm going to add these here and there, give it a little more lushness. I love these particular ferns. These are thrifted, but they have kind of a lighter colored tip than the bottom, which kind of gives that springtime vibe, and also to me sort of gives the filtered look of the light through the forest. You know how it's really dark and then there are little rays of sunshine that come through, that they break through, and you can see the lighter pieces, and I think that was perfect for this piece. And I hope you like it as much as I do. Think of all the ways that you can make this one your own. Different mushrooms or no mushrooms. Different moss. You could use a plain wood brown instead of one with sides on it. You could also do butterfly stickers. You could use colorful butterflies. You could use packages of the paper butterflies from Dollar Tree if you would like. You could use branches from your yard. You could use a floral pick instead of using a branch, right? You can do all those things. So if you like it, please consider giving me a thumbs up. All right, now the next one is a domed tree. I've got some little paper butterflies here. This came with a card making kit and a variety of color. I've got a little foam disc. Some more of that mat. Here is the dome I'm going to use. I've used it in other projects. I'm going to use it again. It's about 11, 12 inches tall, I think. And this is a branch I got from the yard, just right out of my driveway. I'm going to cut this branch into smaller pieces, and be sure you clean your dome, by the way. Get all the fingerprints and smudges off. And then I'm just going to work on cutting pieces of the branches that will fit inside of the dome, not too wide. That one's too big, so we're going to go for smaller pieces that don't reach out quite as far. And then anything that needs to be cut, you can cut, right? It's just a regular branch. You could even snap it off with your fingers if you wanted. But I like how this was actually a tree that was coming back to life in the spring, but a storm blew it down, so it didn't have a chance to fully bud. But you see how the ends are tapered? I like that. So now I'm going to take a bundle of the branches that I tested to make sure they fit. And since I know now that they do fit, I'll take some floral wire, and I'm going to twist all of these little branch pieces together. So this is going to almost look like the trunk of a small tree. We're just reforming that bigger branch into something smaller. All right, now I'm going to trim these at a slant so that they easily poke through that foam. Just cutting them at a slant. Now you can make yours blunt if you want to, but I like the sharp edge there. It's really going to pierce through that foam and do a good job for us. So using some of the double stick mounting tape, which by the way I've seen recently at Walmart, if you want to get yours at Walmart, I'm going to cut a piece off, and rather than using hot glue with this foam, we're going to use some of this mounting tape. I'm going to stick it down and then tap, 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 tap all over it so that it sticks to the disc underneath. And then I'll cut 2 more sections to go across that. And then I can put that foam disc right on top. I'm going to put it right in the center, and you need to be sure that you have enough room so when you place the top back on, the disc does not get in the way. But you can cut foam so easily, right? You can very easily cut it, but that is like perfecto, and I love it when it comes out like that. Now you can choose any type of flowers you want to put on your tree. This is not a realistic tree here. If you want it to be dogwood, maybe you could use little dogwood blooms, whatever you want to use. But I'm really loving yellow, so I'm going to grab some yellow flowers, some boxwood that I'm going to trim up. I've got some foam moss covered stones, okay? And I'm going to use all those to bring this little tree to life. I left some of these intentionally in sets of 3. At the end of the dogwood branch, you'll see smaller little pieces. Wherever you get your little, not dogwood, boxwood, wherever you get your scraps, if you've got your little bowl of scraps, you can mix it up, put a little bit of everything on there. But on the tips of these, they grow a little bit smaller, so I'm going to put those on the tips of the tree. And I'm just going to add them here and there in different areas. I don't try to cover every branch with the leaf, and I don't try to just fill this tree completely up to the top, because for me the main focus is going to be on our butterflies, and I like the wood look underneath from the tree. So we're going to leave that where you can still see some of the tree. And then more toward the bottom and in other sections, I'll be adding some of these leaves just here and there. It's really easier if you get in a section where there's a split in the branch, so that you have a little more to have that cling to. Use a cool temp glue when you do this if you're not protecting your fingers. You still should protect your fingers, but I'd worked a lot that day. You see the stain on my fingers? I had a lot of projects going on, so, you know, do as I say, not as I do. That's probably a better practice. All right, so I'm just going to add these here and there. And maintaining my fingertips and my fingerprints, I'm going to go around and add wherever I think I like it. You'll always see me when I'm crafting, turn my project side to side and then tilt it and look at it. Okay, so here's a different piece of that foam mat. It's a different type. It's thinner. I'm going to cut that into a circle. I'm just going to kind of help myself with a white marker on the back side of the moss, so I have an idea of how much I want to cut out. But ideally, you want to be cutting on the inside of your line, so it'll be small enough to go over the top. How are we going to attach this? We'll cut it down one side, just like a tree skirt on a Christmas tree. You cut it toward the center, just about half of it. It's going to look like Pac-Man, and then you're going to put it right around your tree. Look at that. Bellissimo. Now you can just add some glue here and there. It doesn't take a lot, and if you're using, you know, your cool temperature, it's okay. It's not going to melt anything. It should be good to go. But you're going to do what's best for you, right? And if you have individual little pieces of moss, then you just glue those on with a little Mod Podge or some school glue, however you want to do it. Now I'm going to take my black. Since the bottom of this mat is black, I'm just going to use some black chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree and go around the bottom so that it looks like earth, a very rich, dark, deep earth underneath of that. It blends into the base, and I think it's a good look. You could also do brown if you wanted it to look like dirt, but I'm good with the black. Oh, I went with the peach flowers, not the yellow. Okay, so I'm putting those peach flowers all over. And I'm just going to add them here and there, all over this little tree. This is a tiny little budding tree. It's a fantasy tree, right? I'm going to spread my little flowers out so they look pretty. And remember the little trick, you can add some heat on the back side of your flower to fluff it out if you need to, you know, unfold anything. This is a thrifted pick that I had, but you can get your stuff from Dollar Tree, certainly. And you can also get your scrap bucket for this, right? Get your scraps out. Now I'm going to take some of those moss-covered stones, which I do believe you can get at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to add those around the base of the tree, just because I like it. It's not covering anything up. Nothing need to be covered or wire, and everything is good. And this is how it looks so far. This is going to be a piece that is mainly focused in one direction. Now, if you want this to be something you can see, like if you wanted to sit it in the middle of the table, be sure that some of the flowers are facing the opposite direction. Mine will be sitting up here on my display shelf. So for the butterflies, I'm going to take the back end of a paintbrush, put it in the center over the body, and just fold over that. That's going to give us a flat area that's a little bit wider than just folding it completely in half, and a good strong base to add the glue so we can stick these down on the flowers. Now you just, fun part, you know, you just choose what butterfly you want to be where and just start adding those down. You can open the wings up farther, you can leave the wings flat, you know, however you want to do yours is going to be absolutely perfect. Because remember, we're all about making it our own on this channel. I'm not going to tell you that what you do is wrong, right? Just like y'all don't tell me what I'm doing is wrong. A lot of people tell me what they would do differently, and that is perfectly okay because that's what I encourage you to do. Just make it your own. Just do it the way you like it. Look at all these beautiful little butterflies and all these different colors, and they're all happily just sitting on all of these flowers. This makes my heart happy, y'all. Makes my heart so happy. All right, now we're going to take that dome and we're going to gently put that down. If you need a stick or something to put in there to flatten your flowers back out, then you can definitely do that. Sometimes we need a little help, you know, and if anything is bumping the top, just trim it off a little bit. So I'm kind of playing around with mine until I make sure that no butterflies are injured in the making of the video and that everything fits nicely. And I absolutely love this. It's not taxidermy. We didn't hurt anything, but we made it look special and unique on a budget. Think of all the different ways that you can make this one your own. You can use all of the same butterfly. You could use one solid piece instead of a lot of branches. You can certainly do this any way you like. Love it. The next project is the Tree of Life. Yes, the much anticipated Tree of Life. Now this came from TEMU. It's just a metal, like a hanging sign. It's 11 inches. Got some little birds on the tree branches. We're going to cover them up. And then this is the wreath that we're going to be using. I'm going to use some rope, a couple of shades of brown paint. As long as one is dark and the other one's a little lighter, it doesn't matter which shades you use. I'm going to use green, a darker and a lighter shade. And then I'm going to use a bunch of brushes. I have butterfly buttons here. You can use butterfly buttons, you could use stickers, whatever you like. After you've made that selection and put them aside, we're going to start painting. So this is like a matte black metal, and I want to color this some because it's springtime, we want to color. This would definitely be beautiful if you left it black and only put butterflies on it, just use it as a background if that's what you want to do, but I want to give you options for those of you who don't care for just black and white or just the rustic look. So I'm going in making sure I touch all the branches with the brown. I'm going to dry this because there's a lot of little parts in here and I don't want to smudge anything when I go to the next color. It's all dried. And then I'm going to go in and start adding the second layer of paint, and I'm just sort of dry brushing this brown all over the branch parts and all over the ring that goes around the tree. All over it, and you can add as much or as little as you want. If you add too much, you can always go back in after it dries and add a little more dark to the top. I love the texture that this seems to give to it and the variety in the color, because a real tree is rarely just one color. Dry it all, and then I'm moving on to my green. This is a matte green color. I think it's an ivy, and I'm going to use that first over the black. And I'm going to go over all of the leaves. I'm not just going down the leaf, but I'm also going to go down part of that little stem piece that connects the leaf to the branch. So you can see what I'm doing here, sort of so it blends in just a little bit. And we're going to do that all the way around, and then I'm going to dry it. If y'all need a link to anything you see in this video, let me know and I'll be happy to add it. Otherwise, this is not a sponsored video. These TEMU videos that I have been doing, they are not sponsored, and if they are sponsored, I will always let you know. But yeah, I don't put all the links and things in there unless it's asked for, because a lot of people choose not to use TEMU. So just wherever you want to get your projects from. And by the way, it doesn't have to be metal. If you can find this in wood, you can do the same exact thing, right? So while everything is drying on there, I am going to start on my wreath. Now this is very simple. All I'm going to do is just tie this around. If you have a different technique for the same results, you go ahead and do it. But I'm just going to tie this around. And I'm going to wrap it all the way around the wreath until I get back to my starting point. Very easy, but if you've never done it, this is what we do. I keep focusing on pushing that knot under, under, under. I don't want to just glue it because it may come loose as I am wrapping it. You don't want to squeeze your rope too tight. You want to keep it flat, but don't squeeze it or you can deform and snap your wreath. It's a metal wreath, but it will break if you're not careful. So what happens if you run out of rope? Because mine was thrifted and it was cut in pieces instead of one entire roll, which I wasn't aware of. I'm going to make a knot on the new piece and slip it right inside the rings and glue it on the inside. Then I can trim off the little extra piece and continue around till I get back to the starting point, gluing everything to the back. I'm just going to press that down with a stick, and then here is that wreath form. And we're going to put this right in the middle. So I am going to attach this by just using a little bit of jute. You can use floral wire or whatever you want, but since this is kind of a sort of a rustic, I guess, look, I decided that I would want to do it this way. I'm just going to go around the wreath, around the top, almost center of that tree, tie it in a knot with a jute, slide that knot to the back, and then work on the next section. I'm going to just push a little section apart in the rope, tie that around, and continue all the way around. So you can, if you have more rope left, you can attach this with the rope, and that would help fill in any gaps that you might still have in your wreath. But you know, jute is good. Jute will work fine for this. So we're doing a north, south, a east, and a west. This is going to hold everything in place. Nothing's going to slide around. When you're done with that, go to the knotted areas and cut off all of your excess because, you know, we don't need all that hanging down. We want it to be nice and neat. What a beautiful wreath on the backside, right? You could hang this on a glass door and it would still be pretty. So this rope is a little bit rough. It had a lot of shagginess. You can do the lighter trick if you want. I choose not to do that, but I did put my heat tool close to it and it did get rid of some of those little fringes. You just got to be careful because you know it's a fire hazard, so be careful. Now I'm going to use a little bit of glue on my buttons and I'm going to start adding in butterflies all over this tree. There are going to be so many butterflies on this tree in the end. And this is really just to your imagination. You can put whatever color in whatever place. And by the way, y'all can get the little wooden appliques at Dollar Tree and you can paint those and use them on your tree if that's something that you would like to do. Continue. And I like kind of working with one color or one pattern at a time so I get them spaced out so nothing is too close to each other. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about while I'm doing this, but there's really no particular pattern. You see me kind of moving it around here and there. I also want to be sure that since there are birds on there, and that's not what I want to focus on in this video, that I'm putting a butterfly on top of where the birds are. I bet y'all could use stickers and hot glue for this project as well, or even the little paper butterflies. Now I'm just kind of going over this to get rid of all the glue because it was so much hot glue used for this that there's little strings everywhere. And then I'll go back in and just fill out, you know, whatever places I want to fill it out. And so there are no flowers in this piece, but because there's so much color in the butterflies, I think it makes it look so bright and beautiful. So how are we going to hang this? We're just going to make some gaps right here in that rope. Take another little piece of rope, kind of feed it through there to the back side. But you could definitely hang this wreath right off of itself. You know, if you've got a nail hanging out of the wall, just push it in there and it should stay for you. Ooh, y'all, I went outside yesterday and the pollen is crazy. My ears are itching me like I don't know what. I'm trying not to scratch my ears right now. Whew, it's amazing. I have not coughed or sniffled through the whole video. Hallelujah. Now we have a hanger. You see how easy that was? And look at this pretty piece. I'm just wondering which one of these you like best, and I think number one is probably my favorite. But I like them all, and they all have a special place in my heart. And there are 3 different styles. You know, This one in particular is a little bit of everything, I think. You can make this on a smaller scale. I hope that you're inspired by this, and I hope that you're going to try something like this. Maybe you could even use a stick on the inside of this and make it even more dimensional. That would be pretty as well. Thank you so much for stopping by today and visiting my channel. Next is going to be our butterfly and roses. All right, I'm going to use scrap foam here. I'm not sure what this wood piece is, but I got it from the thrift store. I've got a dowel rod. It's about 18 inches long, I think. 2 butterflies from Dollar Tree, and they are exactly the same print, the same size, or the same cutout, whatever. You see? Perfect. Then I'm going to use a little sponge brush. I'm going to grab that espresso again, the Tuscan red, and that rich black chalk paint. Of course, we're going to start by taking off our tags, anything that we hang these pieces with, whatever they originally came with. I've got these 2 little scraps of wood. Like I said, I pick up stuff all the time. Don't even know what these are, but you could use a little piece of paper on the back if you wanted to, just to fill in the holes where the hangers were, because we don't need to use those. I'll take some spackling, and I'm going to go right in the inside of the holes that are on the other side, and these will be our outside pieces. So this is what you will see, not the round part. And then I'm going to use just a little scraper here to get anything out that's not flat down on that surface like it should be. Just pick it out of there, make it nice and neat and crisp. Once it is dry, we can begin to paint. Now, this part I'm kind of freehanding because it doesn't have any lines to show where the body of this butterfly is. So I'm using my own knowledge of the shape of a butterfly, and I'm going to trace this out with the black, or fill it in with the black, I should say. You can use whatever type of brush you need, whatever works best for you. I just want to make sure that I get enough on there that this is rich and dark, and we know that this is the center of the butterfly. It will matter as I begin to layer the paint on there, and we will do some layering, but please don't be afraid of any of that. If I taught myself to do it, you can teach yourself to do it, right? And at least I'm here to help you, to show you how to do it, okay? So if you need to pull this video up when you get ready to do it, then you just pull this video up and we'll do it together. See, it's not perfect. That's okay. I'm not going for perfect. And then we're going to do the other one. And we're going to let those dry, or use your drying tool or a fan or whatever you have. I'm going to grab that Tuscan red and dip into that and then tap it off here. Now, the reason I'm not using a brush is because the insides of these cutouts are dark. They're like a wood color, like a darker color on the inside of the cutouts. And that's probably has something to do with the laser that cut it out. But I like the depth that gives, and I don't want to take that away by globbing the paint on in each of those little sections of the cutout here. I don't want to do that. So to preserve that, I can use just a little bit of paint and just pounce that on the top, and that way there's no dripping. Does that make sense? Okay. Also, as I'm doing this, I'm going to make sure that I leave a section next to the body of the butterfly that is probably 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, you can see here, that I want to leave the wood color. And you'll see why later. All right, I'm going to spin it around and we'll start the other side. This is very easy to do. And again, if you don't have a sponge brush like this, grab a makeup sponge and just be sure that you tap out as much as you can before you put more on here. You want to keep going until it is done, and then you want to go on to your other butterfly, and of course you want to do the same thing. Just adding and tapping off, just like this. All right. Love it. This is easy. It goes by pretty quickly. And then after that's dried, We're going to flip them over to the back side and take the dowel, take them outside and spray paint them black. And then I'm going to grab my paint. And always be sure you clean your surfaces when you get them from the thrift store or garage sale or out of your closet. Take all the dust and grit off first, you know, for many, many reasons. And then sand if you need to sand any areas, and then go over it with your paint. Then you get a smooth, nice, pretty finish. So I'm going to go over this entire thing. I'll go on the inside of that lip. You can see what I'm doing, and I'm not using a lot of paint to do this because it's already black. I just want to make sure that I can see the shine or the wetness of that paint on there so that I know all surfaces are covered and it is completely one black color. Set that aside and let it dry. Then we're going to cut into that foam. Now the size of that hole in the middle is about the size of a nickel, so I'm just going to kind of think about what that size might be and just trim down a piece of this foam to go in the middle. It's like a spongy, compact type foam, you know, that you get in packaging. I save that stuff. I sure do. No, I'm not a hoarder, but you might think that if you saw my studio. You might think it. So I'm going to press it down in there. And at first I thought, okay, well, this will work. So then I started adding my black paint to it, and it occurred to me, this is not going to hold the weight of what I'm going to be doing here. So let's add one more layer. And luckily, this candle lid fit right down in that lip, which always makes me very happy when something works like that, because it makes it the best template to put something in there. I've got a marker, and I'm going to just trace that out. And once I have that circle the right size, I'll go back over that with my scissors and just trim that completely out. Easy to do, and I still have more foam to use for later because I worked in the corner and I didn't waste anything. I'll just go around the outside of it. This can be compressed, so I could squeeze it down if it's too big, but I try to get as close as I can to it. So a little bit of the hot glue. Cool is best when you're using hot glue on foam. And then I'm going to paint this black. Now that's going to give me extra depth for me to put that dowel rod into. Make sure that it's dry, but keep your dryer very far away from it because it will shrink if you don't. I shrunk mine down, by the way, but I'll fix it. All right, so the back is dry, the front is dry. Now we're going to start adding a little bit of aging to this butterfly. Let's put the mystery back into it. Let's put the haunted back into the haunted house, or the mystery back into your Victorian aged home. Okay? Is this Valentine's? I certainly do think it is. And in the end of this, you're going to see why I definitely would consider this Valentine. However, you could use this in your home anytime you would like. If you love the Gothic or the Victorian or the dark academia, I think any of these projects that we're doing today would really fit in nicely. See the difference that the aging makes, and that is just that black, that rich the rich black, I mean. But you see the difference of the two. So if you don't like the aged look, you can leave it bright like that. All right, so let's age this bottom, this pedestal, or whatever we want to call this thing. Again, start light. That's what I'm doing here. We're starting light. And I'm adding that paint on a little bit at a time. Not putting a ton on there. This just gives to me a bronzy look. I've done this on several projects. If you're new to my channel and you haven't seen my Halloween, then I really suggest that you go over and check out some of my Halloween videos, because I do a lot of the dark romance and the dark academia, the dark look that I think you might like as well. And they'll fit nicely together with these pieces we're making today. So if you did those, these will work well with them, I think. I'm going to go all around my edges and all around the different layers, because you see there are levels on here. Very pretty. And then we'll do the same technique to the dowel rod that we took outside and spray painted. So, you can do the technique on spray paint if you would like. and they match great. This is going to look like one piece. So the last step on our butterfly, once the other aging part is done, is to add a little bit of bronzing. Well, it's not the last step. I actually do go back in and do something to the center of the butterfly, like I said. But we're going to do the bronzing first, and I'm just putting this all over very lightly on both of the butterflies. But you can go lighter or darker. But you know, butterflies have that little bit of a shimmer, a metallic shimmer to the wings. It's just that magical, beautiful look, you know? I'm going to very lightly go over the black part of the body. Then I'm going to grab that red again. And this time, I'm going to use a brush to go right next to the body and then make one line, and we're going to blend that out into the wing. We're just going to drag the remainder of that out into the wing. This gives like a highlight to the middle of that butterfly. It just gives it a pretty look, in my opinion. Then when it's dry, if you want to go back in and add a little bit more, you can, just to keep it looking, you know, consistent throughout. Oh, it's so pretty. All right, so now we're going to sandwich this dowel rod right in between. And we're going to do that with some hot glue. So I'm just going to put some hot glue in there. I don't want this to be so much that it floods out into the openings there or the cutouts. I don't want that to happen. But I'm trying to make it somewhat centered, because this is going to be, again, sandwich in between. We're going to add some more glue here. And then I'll flip it over right on top. So the red sides are out, the black is toward the center. Then I'm just going to use 2 more pieces of the same size dowel rod to hold those wings apart, so that I make sure that it stays centered and that it rises exactly where we want it to be. After putting some weight by my hand, I put a weight in the middle of it. After that glue has set up, give it a few minutes. Then this is how the beautiful butterfly is going to look. I love this. I love it. So now let's address the bottom. We got to have a way to stand that butterfly up. So I'm just using a little awl that I have, or it's a leather punch. I'm going to put it straight down in the middle. It's going to go through both layers of the foam that we added. I'll add some glue here. And then I will put that dowel rod straight into there. Now I could sit here and hold it until it dried if I chose to do that, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to show you that what I did was took a piece of wire, I went through the butterfly openings in the center and wrapped it over the monopod that holds my camera. So this is going to hold that in place as it dries while we continue to work on the project. All right, I'm going to add some hot glue here. You can see that it'll wiggle back and forth, but it is not going to come loose. I've got some of these flat rocks from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to add these black stones to the bottom of it. A couple of things these black stones are going to do, besides looking pretty, is they are going to help hold this in place. It's going to give us a little more of a support. It's also going to give us some little nooks and crannies to add some greenery or flowers into, and it will support those as well. You can choose whatever you like for this. If you want to add moss here, add your moss. If you want to put, if you want to just leave it black and not use anything to support it, just sit there and hold it for a while, you can do that. You can take rocks that are not black. You could take the little shards of crystals or the raw crystal pieces, and you could put those there. You could use a lace doily if that's what you want to go for. All right, so I've built it up just a little bit, and look at these gorgeous roses. Now these came from TEMU. Again, I'm getting a lot of stuff from TEMU, y'all. Everybody has their opinions. We don't need to discuss it, but I'm just showing you what the quality. These only cost me like $1.99 for the stem. That's right. Look how gorgeous these roses are. They're beautiful, and they are perfect for a dark romance theme, right? Perfect. They've got that red, they have that aged look, and they just fit in so nicely. They are on a wire, so the quality is definitely there. I'm going to cut it into pieces like you've seen me do here, and I'll also cut some of the greenery, and I'm going to cut the little part that connects to the stem, and I'm going to start adding these down to the cracks in those rocks. Again, it makes a great support, holds them in place, And then also it has that look, that black look, that the darkness. I think it works so well together. And I've never done it quite like this, but I love it. I hope you love it. I hope you think that this works together. It really does, in my opinion. Maybe you could use black sand here. Maybe if you're using something that's in your yard, you could just go grab a handful of stones and spray paint them black. You know, you could do that, couldn't you? So I'm just going to add the greenery pieces for the roses just here and there where I feel like they fit in and they look nice. And I'm going to make sure that I have like a graduated look. So we'll have our highest flowers, then we'll have a middle height, and then we'll have the shortest one. And so the little single rose is going to be the shortest, and I'll add that in. And I'm actually holding it longer. I cut out those pieces so you don't have to watch me do that. But I do hold it longer and add more rocks as needed for support. Still gives a natural look. Very pretty. I'm even going to add a little bit of greenery to the back of one of the other flowers. I love the look. Very pretty look. Okay, now I just decided, you know what? We need to have some sticks or some limbs or something in there to look craggy and look a little bit older, right? So I've got some of this. I pulled this out of a wreath that I thrifted. And I'm just picking the pieces apart. I'm just cutting them. They are plastic and wire, so they'll work good for this. But just grab some sticks out of your yard, you know? I'm going to cut it into pieces and then add these pieces here and there to give it just that little something extra, that little something aged and beautiful. Plus, y'all know I love my greenery. You know that on my channel. I love the greenery. And although there is no greenery on the stem, there's something about the movement that this gives. Just as a whole. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's maybe the artist in me coming out, but sometimes I can't convey it as well as I mean to. But look at the difference. Just that little bit. Valentine romance. So we got roses for Valentine's Day. We got the red coloring in there. We also have the black and the bronze and the deep red that give us that beautiful dark look. The next project is going to be a butterfly round. So I'm going to use some of this beautiful orange. I'm also going to use some gold and burlap and some butterflies. And a round, of course. You can use any round you want. This is a 12-inch round, but you can use the ones that you get at Dollar Tree that are like paper. Mine is more of like a wood or MDF. It's a little bit thicker, but you'll get the same look. So I'm going to start by taking off the string hanger. And these butterflies, beautiful butterflies, came in a huge pack from Dollar Tree. I am going to, of course, take the new off of this by going around the edge. The edges, when they are cut, is white. So it's just like an overlay on white paper. And it really makes a difference when you hit all these little details this way. So I'm just going to go over and kind of age that. And like I said, take the new away, make it look a little more aged all the way around. You can get these butterflies in a variety of colors. We were challenged in this video. Each of the 3 channels and the 4 ladies were challenged to use burlap, a spindle kit, wood round, and the beautiful napkins. So that's what you're going to see all of us use in this video. I'm also going to flip this over and I'm going to do the back because we are going to be bending these and you will be able to see a little bit of the back. And I don't want white to be shining out from under there. I'm also going to go over this with a little bit of each one of these with a little bit of the antique wax. It doesn't take a lot. And then go over the top of it, right around the edges and all over that gold with a little kind of like a dabbing motion. If you don't have these little finger dauber things, you can just use like a little sponge brush for this. It will work out probably just the same. It's just going to help it look a little more realistic, I guess. I mean, it's a paper butterfly. There's only so much you can do, but you can see the difference from the left to right, and I like the way that looks. And keep going all the way around. And when you're doing this with the butterfly, be sure that you let it dry in between layers, okay? I decided to use the black side of mine, but if you don't have a black side, grab some black chalk paint and you'll get the same kind of look. I think the butterflies are going to work great. So this is where the burlap comes in. This is burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. And this is burlap ribbon from Hobby Lobby. This is some satin ribbon that I thrifted, and it is black. I decided to add that in there. That's going to look really pretty with those butterflies. And then I decided to add a little bit of gold, since we have some gold in the butterflies also. Now this project I'm making for, it's kind of like spring and summer, but actually if you like this kind of thing, you could have it in your house all year long if you were a monarch lover or a butterfly lover. Making very simple bows here for y'all. Very simple. You can see what I did here. The ribbons are all wired except for the black. And of course this little orange that I'm using to go around the center. I am tying this in the front instead of in the back because I'm going to use the same piece of ribbon to layer bows going upward right on top. This is going to have a nice full bow, but at any point that you're making your own bow, you decide that's enough and you want to stop, you can do that. All right. Then I'm going to take the orange, same technique, you can see what I'm doing here. And then in order to, if you want your loops to be about the same size, you can just lay it on top of the other one and see if you like the size. If you don't, then you can, if you don't like doing it that way, just measure it if that's what you like to do. Then I'm going to just tie the orange right on top. I like the size there. You can wait to the end to trim off the ends, or you can go ahead and do it as you're going along. Leave a little more than you need so you can trim away once you get it on your round. Then we're going to do the gold. Simple, you can see. We'll add that piece on, and then we will top it off with the beautiful black satin ribbon. If you have wider ribbons, you're going to want to use those on the bottom, and the thinner ribbons more toward the top. Because if you use the thinner ribbons on the bottom, they kind of get lost, right? They kind of get lost. And if you're using a ribbon that doesn't have wire, you put it on top of the wired ribbons, it gives that unwired ribbon a little more body and a little more of an opportunity to shine. Don't discount the runts, right? All right, so we're going to tie this and we're going to flip it over and tie it on the back. Speaking of runts, not that any of us are runts, Trish, Kay, Kendra, or myself, but we're all hovering around the 5-foot mark, in case anybody is wondering. Yeah, we're little women. We're little women. All right, then I can take it to the back, tie it in a knot, and we're going to leave the length on there because that's what we're going to use to attach it down to the beautiful round. And then, of course, fluff the bows in any direction you like. I always like to kind of switch it up, put some to the top, some to the bottom. I don't have to have necessarily all of them going in the same colorway and direction. Now we can attach these down. Now we're going to need to bend these just to give them some movement. You can glue yours flat if you would like, but the reason we didn't color the center with that wax is because the wax doesn't stick well to the glue. So I left that section white. Now I'm just going to use the handle of my mini spatula, and I'm going to put it right across the body of the butterfly and fold the wings up. This is going to leave a flat section underneath so that we have an area to glue it down. We'll do it on each of the butterflies. And then you can move those wings however you like. If you want your butterfly to look like he's standing up, you can put 2 of those back to back. I've done that in other projects, and that way you get the same color on both sides. Just a little tip for you. We can replace the hanger. I put mine in the garbage, so I had to make another one. It was too far gone. It was too far gone. And you're just going to tie a couple of knots on each side. I wanted mine tied to the front. And then I'm going to take those ribbons here and go around that string, the hanger string. If it bothers you that there's something different on the back of your, perhaps you use a round from Dollar Tree that already has a design on it, you just go ahead and paint that black too, right? Now I added a dot of hot glue to keep it from falling forward and put a clamp on it. Now I can really see where I want my ribbons to lay, how I want them to look on the plaque or on the round. Having that wire helps them hold their form, and I really enjoy a good quality ribbon. And believe it or not, the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon has been very good for me. I've used it for years. Now I've got this beautiful piece. I'm going to balance it, my large bow on the side, and then I'll put the smaller bows this way. And you can have them, like I said, you can bend them up more or you can lay them flat. This just gives more dimension, and I like the idea of having an overlap on the side slightly. It almost looks like they were flying around and just landed right down on there. Maybe they thought that bow was a beautiful flower. Who knows? I love this. A Gothic butterfly pumpkin. I've got a variety of paints here. We have a silver. This is a very dark gray, and then this is black. There's barely a difference between the two. Got some paint brushes. This little stand came in a box of goodies that a viewer has very generously sent me. I knew exactly what I wanted to use this for. This is a pumpkin that I have painted copper in the past, and we're going to give it a makeover. These are from TEMU. Get whatever butterflies. You can use stickers, you can use cardboard, you could use cutouts, whatever you want to use from wherever you want to get them. Just letting you know where mine came from. I'm going to paint this entire thing, the chalkboard, black first. Whole thing. I'm using a brush with long hairs or bristles so that it can get down in all those little recessed areas in the design. It's like a filigree design. I'm going to take the dark gray or the slate gray, and I'll use that on the pumpkin while the stand is drying. I don't want to give a full heavy coat here. I want to have some of this copper still showing through because this is going to have a lot of dimension. Just wait until you see how it turns out. I'm very pleased, very pleased. So I will concentrate the color on the bottom and the top. I am not focusing on the ribs of the pumpkin at this point because we're going to do something a little bit different in those for some additional dimension. I'm not going to paint the stem. We're going to leave it like it is. And you can see how it looks. You can see the lighter areas where the copper shows through. This is a matte paint, so I'm just going to go ahead. You'll see the color changes slightly. I'm going to dry it. And then once both of these pieces are dry, we are going to, well, first I'm going to go over this bottom piece with some of the chalkboard paint. Now, I realize when I'm looking at this, without my glasses, of course, that you might not notice that much of a difference to the eye when you first do this. I am dry brushing this slate gray over the top of the black. It is very subtle. You can hardly see it on the camera, but in person, it definitely makes a difference. It brings out all the highlights of the curves and the filigree and the different sections on here, right? Because this is going to go right on the outside pieces, and that black is going to create the shadows that are on the lowest part. I think y'all understand what I mean by that. All right. Once that is done, I'm going to go over it with a little bit of heat just to dry it quickly. Then I am going to grab some of the black, the chalkboard black, on my little chippy brush, and I'll go between each of the ribs. Now, it's not important that you go between every one. If you have a pumpkin like mine that is more of a natural look, that has ribs that are very, very close, you could just choose where you want to do it. You know, space it out and just choose where you want to do it. And it's gonna, to the eye, it will change the shape of the pumpkin somewhat. I love what it does. I absolutely love what it does. You can tell the difference already. You see that? Yeah, I really, really like that look. And of course, if you don't like the look and you don't want to do it that way, that is totally fine, but it's a lot of layering going on this pumpkin, okay? So hang with me, stay with me now, y'all. Don't give up on me yet. Dry that layer, and then I'll grab some more of that sterling silver. This is just on a bath sponge that I've torn into pieces, and I got it at Dollar Tree. This is really good for a textured look. And we're just going to pounce this all over the pumpkin. Don't push it down into the recessed areas because we made those black intentionally, right? So we want this to go all over the top. We're just lightly pressing this down. If you're enjoying or learning anything from this channel today, I would love it if you would subscribe and help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers by Halloween. I thank you so very much. All right, so we're just going to keep on. Look at all the dimension. It almost looks like ash or like it was burned, but you can still see that copper underneath. Oh, I love this. It just looks like tarnished, rusty metal. It's just giving me so many Gothic vibes. And I really do hope you like this, that you will try this on a pumpkin. It's just paint. If you don't like it, you paint over it, right? Yes, exactly what I wanted. Now the center of this little stand here is depressed, and I need it to be raised up somewhat so that the bottom of this pumpkin will sit flush with it. And I am just going to use some of this mounting tape to do that. This is just a double stick gel type tape. I believe it is called nano tape. It's referred to as nano tape. And anybody in the comments, you want to tell me what it's called at Walmart? I think it's alien tape. You can put that in the comments to make it easier for people to find. I'll have it linked, though, in the comments where I get it. All right, so I want to make sure that the pretty side of the pumpkin, the right tilt of the little knob on top, and the legs are all in the right order. Once I know it's where I like it, I'm going to press it firmly in place. If you don't have the depression in yours, just use some hot glue, whatever type of glue you want to use. Okay, now I'm going to turn it where I want the front to be. And I'll grab those little, they're not stickers, they're like a magnet. They have a little magnet piece in there, so you could really put them on anything metal. But these have little skulls all over them. They are a butterfly, they're not a moth. You can see it's like a swallowtail. You can bend these to change so that they're not exactly flat. You can bend them to change the shape slightly. They're like a PVC plastic type stuff. And then I'm just going to decide where I want to put it. Now, the design I'm using on here is not anything new. Lots of people have done this, and a lot of places are selling items like this, where you have like a swirl of butterflies or moths around the pumpkin. That's what I'm doing. This is just my own spin on it, because I'm really trying to drive home the point that when you make something your own, and you really enjoy it, it just changes the whole entire piece. We could all do an orange pumpkin with a black butterfly if we wanted to, but if you want your home to be unique and really reflect how you feel you want your home to look, then, go ahead and make some of those decisions on your own. Make some decisions to change it. You could use monarch butterflies. You could make this more of a rustic look if you want to. But with the metallics and the black and with these little skulls on the black and white butterflies, it just screams Gothic to me. Let me know what you think. I could also have added a little bit of glitter or paint to these black and white butterflies. I did a little bit of practicing and I just did not like it. For me, it just felt right to leave them like this. I'm just going to continue that swirl up to top. I see that I have like at the medium size. There's a larger one in the pack, but it just to me was overwhelming. So I used the medium, and then all of the small ones will trail up to the top. And it will end with one solitary butterfly right on top of the stem. And I like the look of that very, very much. And here's one sitting right up there by herself. Hey, I just want to say thank you. I always want to let you know that you're welcome on my channel. We don't talk politics or religion or anything of the such. We keep it positive in the comments and positive and supportive all over the place in this channel. So whatever brought you here today, I am very happy to welcome you with open arms. We have a lot of fun over here. We get very creative, and I'm always offering a ton of encouragement. So I want you to feel welcome here if you are new, and if not, thank you for staying with me all this time. It's been 4 years, y'all. Okay, so this is how this beautiful pumpkin is going to look. Look at all of the dimension and the color in that pumpkin. I love this. And like I said, I just left the stem the way it was. Take liberties, change things up however you see fit. You can make yours silver. You could paint it black. I'll always tell you that if it's something that you really enjoy and like, it doesn't matter what other people think about it. It's your home. It's your surroundings. You need to do what makes you happy. And not just in crafting, but in your entire life, right? We hold the reins. The next is frame butterflies. Okay, so here we go. We're going to use that chalk paint again. These are some butterflies that are clear and black. Perfect for these. I've thrifted this set. Can you believe I found both of them? Yes. They have this little metal backing here, which easily slides out. So we're going to take that out because we'll be painting these pieces separate. Here's the information if you can actually see it, because I was trying to see it to read it to you. It looks like Tanton, Mississippi, something like that. All right, so clean your pieces when you get them from the thrift store. Give them a good wipe down or wash them, whatever way you need to do it, depending on the type of material. And then get in there with that chalk paint after it's dry and just really work that into all detailed areas. Since I like to highlight the pieces that are ornate, the pieces underneath need more shadow to really make them pop. So making sure that you have pushed that black down into all those areas will really make the ornate pieces pop on the top. So if you pay attention, you can see I got both of them done, both of them are dry. When we move on to the highlighted sections, you'll see the difference. Now I'm going to grab that espresso and a little sponge. I'm going to load it into there, and I'm going to change this from a gold to the bronze color that is going to coordinate with the rest of the decor that we have in this set. I want everything to, to be cohesive. That's just me, but feel free to make a variety of things in a variety of ways and just really be eclectic if that is what your little heart desires. Very easy to do. You could also use a brush, but I feel like I would have wasted a lot of paint that way. Once you have them both done on both sides, then you can let them dry, and then we're going to dry brush, and this is what I mean. See how it just really brings all of that out. I love this technique. Y'all see this in a lot of my videos. I hope you're not getting tired of it because it comes through in a variety of ways depending on how you use it, right? And it makes such an impression. We're using the same bottles of paint for this whole set of things, and look at the richness. You see the difference? Wow, that really makes it pop. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going outward, kind of at an angle. You don't want to go back and forth and side to side. It was probably going to muddy up your piece. It's going to be a little too heavy-handed and streaky. So just be sure that between layers, you really let it dry. Now, after it's dried, and I'm going to go back over it and try to make sure that both pieces have the same coverage, just for my own taste. When the backs are dry, we can replace those. If you have a frame that you get and you don't have this type of back on it, it's fine. Just use whatever you can find for it, right? You could even get like one of those cookie cooler racks. So, you put your cookies on there after you bake it, or a baking rack, I guess is what it's called, and cut that into pieces and use it in a regular frame. Ooh, you could do that. You certainly could. Talk about making it your own. That would be really cool. I might have to show y'all how to do that one day. All right, so there are a variety of these butterflies in the pack, and I'm just going to grab a few that I like. Now, these are from TEMU, but if you like the butterflies that are colored, you can get them at Dollar Tree. There are paper ones. I have bought the monarchs before. They are stunning. I have used them in many projects, but I wanted to give these a try. Okay, so mounting tape. Here we go again with the mounting tape. We're going to be using that to attach these down to the mesh background because it works perfectly, and we're not going to damage our butterflies. Because these are not paper, I'm not going to want to use hot glue, right? Because it would melt or warp it. I do not want that to happen on this piece. I am going to just use a little bit of mounting tape. I'm folding this, kind of making sure that the center of the body part of the butterfly is flat. So I'm folding the wings. I'm holding my thumb in place and then folding it so that that section is flat and the wings go up. Now I'll push them down just a little bit to make sure that I have my spacing right and that the butterflies are about the same flight level, I guess you could say. On the back side of the butterfly, I'll take my mounting tape, pull off the backing, and just press that down into the mesh. It works great because it's almost like a thick gel that you use on the mounting tape. It's like a thick gel. So it'll really stick down to that. It won't go anywhere. I've flipped and flopped these things around all over the place, and it is exactly where I put them. And they'll stay there until I take them off. Now I'm pressing the wings down just to make sure that I have it centered in that position. If I don't, I'll just lift it up and stick it again. Same thing here. I'm just going to kind of make sure that I have it where it needs to be and put that right down on top. It almost looks like a specimen, doesn't it? Sort of looks like that. I think also these pieces, they're elegant, they're beautiful. They would be great in like a dark academia. They would look really good with dark cottage core. And by dark, y'all, dark is not bad. Nothing I do or create is going to be negative or bad or harmful to you for your spirit, your soul, or anything. I'm a good person and I have the best of intention for everyone. And that's why I do so many different types of crafts on my channel instead of just one. Because I like to include everyone. Everybody deserves joy in their life. Everyone. I truly believe that with all my heart. Look at this little set. How adorable. Here they are hanging, and believe it or not, I didn't have hooks to hang these on with my backdrop, so I just used some more gel, the little double stick mounting tape right on the frame on the back side, and stuck it to the piece. And then I peeled it off when I was done. So perhaps you could stick this down on your wall with some mounting tape. That would be really good if you are someone who lives in an apartment, you know. That would work. I love this little set. I hope you do.